everyone. How are you? Fine, thank you.
Oh my god!
I wish I were a bird.
なんであんた英語喋っとるん?
Welcome to the Beginner's Guide to Learning Japanese. You can call me Hyoka and I'm the creator, teacher, and editor of this project. This course is aimed to help you learn how to acquire a language, as well as set the foundation needed to begin your journey. The method I will be talking about will get you to a high level of fluency, but if you just want to learn enough for a vacation trip, then this method is not for you. So let's get right into it. I'm sure we've all been forced into a language class in school before, whether it be Spanish, French, Chinese, or even Latin. And yet very few, or even none, ever become conversational or semi-fluent even after years of so-called learning. Is this because of horrible teachers? Lazy students? Maybe they play a factor, but what really is the problem is methodology. Almost all schools use a textbook memorization type learning methodology that is based on a so-called skill tree, similar to how you would learn math. First you would learn addition, then subtraction, then multiplication, division. Everything has a step. However, this type of methodology does not transfer over well in language learning. Think about how you acquired your first language. As a baby, you weren't given steps on each grammar point. Maybe the alphabet was taught, but you probably already knew how to say some words and even understand sentences by then. During your childhood, you had hours and hours every day to soak up the language and information around you, allowing your brain to decode and get used to it, slowly developing into an understanding. Which brings us to the main part of the video. The idea of acquisition learning, or immersion learning, was popularized by linguist Stephen Krashen, who put a lot of importance on comprehensible input, or learning from being able to comprehend something you didn't before.
And the comprehension hypothesis says we acquire language and we develop literacy in one way, and only one way, when we understand messages, when we understand what people tell us, or when we understand what we read. We call this comprehensible input. Here's a crucial point. If you want to acquire language with comprehensible input, first you get comprehensible input. You hear interesting stories, you have interesting conversations, you read books. The result of this are the so-called skills, grammar, vocabulary, etc.
For example, let's say you are learning English, and you hear the sentence, "This is an egg." If you didn't know the word egg before hearing the sentence, but you did understand the rest of the sentence, you now have learned a new word through comprehensible input. This is the main bread and butter of immersion learning, soaking in heaps of content in your target language, and slowly learning it over time through comprehension. This means that language learning can be more fun, more interactive, and most importantly, you don't have to use a textbook. In fact, actively learning grammar plays a small part in immersion learning, as you acquire grammatical patterns naturally over time. If you've ever had to try to teach a person who is learning English about English grammar, you would have a difficult time explaining grammar because you just acquired it instead of consciously learning it. This sentence is grammatically correct just because it feels right, is what you would probably think if you were shown a sentence and asked to say why it is correct. This methodology is also the best for having a good accent in your target language. As you are consuming so much media in your target language, you will slowly be able to replicate an accent similar to that of a native's. Compare that to how schools teach you, where you're learning out of a textbook and have very little to no exposure to natural accents in speech. This may seem all like a lot, and very different from how you are used to learning something. This course will help guide you on how to learn Japanese, as well as set the foundation for you to continue learning. The skills and acquisition of a language takes years to become fluent. However, it doesn't have to be painful and boring like school makes it out to be. And you can explore a completely different culture, way of thinking, and make many great friends along the way. If you're willing to take on the challenge, then step in the ring and get comfortable. It's gonna be a long ride.